Oh.
Who's that? Oh.
That's,
Are we ready?
oh, perfect.
Hey. No, we good? We're good. Okay, welcome to school board and city council members. Great to have you here this evening for a joint work session. I'll open this work session, and this is April the 22nd. We're going to talk about a couple of things here at the work session this evening. The first is their joint meeting to discuss the budget of the school board themselves. They've already presented their budget to the city. The city has incorporated it in our budget, and I think pretty much wholesale, yes. No changes whatsoever. And then we're going to talk about our budget after that. So, Jennifer, are you going to?
I'm going to do just a brief presentation
Okay.
for you all, but also just for the sake of the community who may be watching us this evening. So first, just a very brief summary about the budget that was presented and approved by the school board, and that is included in Mr. Wheeler's budget that was presented to you. So what we continue to battle, and I know this is true for you all too, but I want to make sure the community is aware of it, is the issue of health insurance. It is a driver for our budget. We did take some cost-saving steps again this year so that we could save on funding, but it still ended up being a cost increase for us of just over $159,000. So I anticipate annually that we will continue to see health insurance as a driver for our budget. We had 3 new budget initiatives, one of which was to address the increase in athletic costs. Those of you that may be aware of the fact that we moved down a classification, so now our postseason play it can sometimes be quite a ways away. So it is adding to our cost for the athletic program, but what we're going to do is students do pay fees. We're going to raise those fees slightly to help cover that increased cost for those participating in our athletic programs, and those fees are in line with other school divisions as well as our community parks and recs program in terms of fees that are paid. So the request that the board sent to you was for $211,284, which Mr. Wheeler included in his budget. That does support 2 full-time positions for the people who will now be at the new security vestibules, because as you may remember, we are going to have those built this summer at the high school and at the primary school, and they need to be staffed because they're not located at the office or part of the office as they are at the elementary school and at the middle school. And this was all part of the work that was done last spring with your leadership in the area of school safety when we had the community-wide committee that came out with its recommendations. Also, the budget that has come to you supports funding for a 3% raise for all school division employees with teachers, depending on where they are on the STEP plan. Some will get slightly more, so the average increase for the teacher will be 3.17%. All other employees that are non-teaching staff will receive a flat 3%. Just a reminder, I know that you're well aware of it, but I want to make sure our community is too. There was a lot of media coverage about the raise that was included in the governor's budget and then also approved by the General Assembly. They talked about the fact that it was a 5% raise, but it wasn't always made abundantly clear that that 5% was over the 2 years of the biennium. So that included last year, or rather our current year, and then the year that we're moving into. Some folks thought it was 5% moving into fiscal year 20, and that was not the case. Also, as a reminder, which I know you're well aware of, but for our community, when the state does provide funding for the raises, it's only supporting those positions covered in the standards of quality, which is the minimal staffing. My example that I use so often is we could have 30 students in a kindergarten classroom with 1 teacher and no other assistants, and nobody in their right mind would do that due to the importance of our kindergartners and the type of instruction that they need. So we then hire additional kindergarten teachers to get our staffing ratios to a much more reasonable and appropriate level for instruction, and that's true across the board in teaching positions in K-12. So as a result of that, any funding from the state only covers 67% of our positions, and of those positions, it only covers 62% of the funding for those positions. So as you see here, much of the cost of any raise that's initiated by the state falls on the locality, which is we have to request that funding to support support it through the city budget. I thought also an interesting note that also wasn't well advertised when the budget was approved was the fact that funding for the fiscal year, in fiscal year 20 for next year for the raise didn't include any funds for July or August of 2019. So it was really a 10-month raise, not a 12-month raise. Our teachers aren't working the full 12 months over the summer, but they're paid for their 10 months of work over 12 months, if that makes sense. So again, it was some cost savings for the state, but in order to give them a full year's raise, we're having to seek your support to do that. So, and I put in here in the last bullet, and this is such an important fact for our community to understand, that if it weren't for the support that we continue to get from you and the decisions that you make in your budget development process, we just wouldn't be able to give these raises to our teachers and to the rest of our employees in the school division because we need the additional funding. The only way to get that funding would be to make additional cuts in our own budget. And as you know, coming out of the recession, we're very lean. So that's just a quick summary of the budget that I wanted to provide to you, but also for any community members watching. I want to take this opportunity to briefly update you on the middle school modernization project. I know it's not part of your operating budget, but certainly what you have done for us in terms of going out and including the middle school as part of your debt service is making a huge difference for us. So I wanted you to know where we are with it, and then also, again, the community. So know that last month the architects took members of our middle school faculty on a tour of a middle school in Williamsburg, James City County that they had recently designed and have been completed, and students are in this year. So we and our faculty members were able to see some of the designs that they did, especially as we plan to design a renovation for a building that we know will last for another 50 years or so. So we need to think in a forward direction when it comes to what can we best do with that building to accommodate the kind of instruction our students receive now and in the years to come. They also met with faculty members. They spent a day and a half just meeting with them, talking about them, getting a sense of what their instructional needs are and what we need to look for in the future. We also included some other key personnel. For example, Mr. Bennett came over from the high school because he's acutely aware of the needs that we have in supporting the activities on the football field. So he was able to meet with the architects after talking to coaches at the high school and give his input into that. We do see architects already engaged in the start of the field work at the middle school. So while right now they're working in programming, so they're determining what it is we need and how the building can support instruction in the coming years so that they can start their design work. We already have some field work beginning both outside the building and now coming inside the building. So you'll actually see some activity around that building if you happen to drive down the road during the course of the day. We are going to have a community event. We don't have a date on that yet, so that we can get anybody who's interested in providing some input into the design of the middle school, have the opportunity to do so. So we will keep you posted and certainly get that date to you as soon as we get it. We are continuing to encourage the community to go to the PMS Modernization Project website. We are updating that. We've got video from the tour. We've got different pictures and just a description of where we are in terms of what the activities we're doing now. And also, we do, if you have a Twitter account, we do have a Twitter account specifically for this project. So we push information out through tweets to also try and encourage people to go to the website. So I wanted you to know that we are actively moving forward with this project, and we'll continue to keep you up to date. In addition to the request for the operating budget, we know that you are providing us with $17 million for this project, as well as another $3 million to do the roofs at the middle school, at the high school and at the primary school. So again, I want to make sure the community understands that you're supporting us both operationally as well as in capital improvements. And that's my presentation for the evening.
Does anybody have any questions? I've just got one, and basically it's a joint question where I'm going to ask you two, but the second one is just information. Health insurance, you're right. We hear it every year, and we hear it every year as far as the city's budget. I would just encourage us all to see if there's any way to team even more across the Hampton Roads region. You know, we all go to these things where we're we're in the same rooms together with the bigger school systems and see if there's any way that this whole region would get into a health insurance pool together, okay? That might drive our costs down or make them more controllable, make us a very part of a system that people are eager to insure. I'm not saying that that will work. I know you've probably done this before. I would just ask you to revisit that. The second thing you said on the athletic travel, so I'd heard that we were going to be division lower. Where's your travel? I mean, where's your closest travel?
I don't know but yeah, Bruton would be the closest travel.
Okay.
But then we're going, when we're in postseason, we've got kids up in, or students up in Northern Virginia playing. We go down sort of southwest playing. So it's just the nature of where the regional play is. And then, of course, if you make it into state play, you can be close or you can be far away depending on what, like our golfers were out in western, the very far western part of the state when they went to the state tournament. So that's what's driving some of these costs really, are these transportation costs.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Gary, you got anything, or you or your board have anything that they'd like council to hear?
Primarily just the fact that you all continue to acknowledge the importance of the school system, and you're willing to do what you need to do to help us meet the needs of the children in Poquoson. And just the raise is a perfect example. The state throws that out, but they don't give you the finer details. And some of those raises actually come with stipulations to where it's either all or nothing, so they kind of back you in a corner to try to either give nobody a raise or find the funding so that everybody gets a raise. And it's we just appreciate everything that y'all do for us and the support you give us.
Okay. Anything else? All right,
Yeah,
go ahead.
just comment on his statement. We appreciate what y'all do as well, and keep that in mind. It's not just one way, but we really appreciate what a good board y'all are and how y'all work so closely with us.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly that, and the other thing is that I think both boards recognize the power of our chief administrators, right? And their ability to work together makes us all look good, makes us look like we know exactly what we're doing, but there's a lot of hard work in the office up there, and they haven't seemed to throw anything at each other yet. So I appreciate that and appreciate the hard work that goes on before they bring us a budget. And Gary, I wholeheartly agree, and sometimes I wish that that the press would sometimes dig in and say, you know, the hard truth of a governor's raise or a raise from the state is that the local guys are going to take care of at least close to half of it.
A significant chunk of it, yeah, a significant chunk.
You know,
That's right.
instead of taking the credit for it.
Yep.
So that being said, we're going to get on to our budget if y'all don't mind. Okay, thank y'all for coming.
Thank y'all very much.
Take care. Good to see you. I was going to say, it's a better traveling bus, but yeah.
Shorter bus.
There we go. Thank you, sir. Take care.
Good to see you.
Tanya, let's come up. Let's just sit over there by TV, where you can look at the maximum number of people. That was real nice.
I'm still close enough. I'm still close enough.
There you go.
Buddy, I always thought your right side was the better side. I always thought your right side was the better side.
Okay, we still on the air?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right, so now the second half of the work session is a discussion of the city budget. I'll tell you, honestly, I've looked at the city budget now twice, especially reading through the executive summary. I've actually given Randy 0 comments. Okay? I thought it was very well done. And I don't know where everybody else is, but now is the time to give staff any kind of comments before we start heading into the official public hearings, and to iron it out ourselves. And then before we have the public hearing, so they can make any adjustments that are necessary. And Randy, I don't know if y'all, I know you always have last minute number changes and those sorts of things, but I'll let y'all tell us what you got, and then
Okay,
ask council for their.
thank you. I'll let Tanya do the brief, but as council members know, at this time of the year, what we try to do is catch you up to everything that's changed since the budget went to bed. And sometimes that's good news financially, more often than not. And occasionally it's not. But we have a number of relatively small changes which are cumulatively positive, and along with a recommendation on how to invest those funds in support of your CIP. Right in front of that one there. And so, Tanya, why don't you walk us through it? At the conclusion of that, we'd be pleased to take any comments, questions, or direction that you may have for us.
Okay, thank you, Randy. So included, you should have a brief memo outlining the few changes that Randy mentioned. One thing, we have anticipated a decrease in fringe benefits needed to pay out health insurance for employees of $3,325. In addition, the Peninsula Regional Jail, as we go through this process, they provide us a number they anticipate needing our support. It came under budget, under what we anticipated in the city manager's recommendation by $9,603, which is a good number. Pleased to see that. Of course, Hampton Roads Planning District Commission, they gave us a number, and of course, they need just a slight bit more, 408, not a whole lot, bringing a total of $12,928 that changed. The net change overall was $12,520 that we anticipate going to Capital Projects Fund for the public safety replacement. So the city manager's recommendation for the general fund remained the same at $29,982. That did not change, but what has changed is the capital project fund did increase as a result of the increase from the general fund transfer by $12,520.
Okay. And that was going to be, that's basically the money that we would have cost shared in that expense anyway, is that right?
What this does, the 12,000 would be to increase further the public safety equipment replacement fund. The first priority is, as I know the council is aware, is replacement of Medic 21. Right behind that, the next fiscal year, we have stretcher upgrades for a couple of our other med units, with some police cars in the queue beyond that. So,
All right. I think I understand the changes. All right. So, Randy, you got anything else?
no, sir.
All right. So, council, what y'all got anything? We'll just go around the table.
No, I agree with the words the mayor said. He's been through a few more budgets than I have, but there was nothing in it that, stood out. I thought it was great, and certainly appreciate all the work you do, Randy, and your staff, and certainly the folks from the school board office.
Yep. Councilman Hux?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing but supportive comments for this year's budget, and thank you very much for what the staff has done for us.
Okay. Bud?
I second all those comments, and I'm just glad to see that we had a little bit more money for the capital improvement project. As we all know, that there's been many years we just haven't done anything because we haven't had the money, okay? And when we can take some money and we have the ability to fund some of those projects, we're behind the ball in any case, and this is a way to help out with that without having to hit the citizens with increased taxes.
Okay. Thank you. Vice Mayor Freeman?
Nothing but praise.
That puts a lot of weight on your shoulders there.
Gee, thanks. No, I think it's a great budget, and Tanya and her staff have done a great job, and I agree with the use of the extra funds, and I just wish they were more.
Yeah.
Because we desperately need to do some capital improvements.
Okay. So what I'm hearing here is we have a very large consensus to move forward to public hearing, official adoption of the budget. And Randy, you want to quickly go through the timeline?
Sure, absolutely. The public hearing on the budget and also on the tax rate, because this is a reassessment year, are this evening. And the council has in your package all of the appropriate resolutions that would adopt the budget as presented to you. So it's presented to your consideration for first reading tonight. And then at our next meeting, which is May the 13th, is the schedule for the final adoption. Without direction to the contrary, we'll incorporate in the final documents the information contained in the memo that we just went over. And should there be the need, as council determines between this day and that day for additional work sessions, we'll work with you, Mr. Mayor, to get that scheduled.
Okay. Thanks very much. We don't have anything else. We'll close up the work session. Thanks.
Take care.